Hey, Brian, and we're back.
Yeah.
This topic is a great one. So, we talked a lot about all the different manufacturing aspects and testing that can be outsourced, what it looks like even to have an entire virtual company outsourced.
Mm.
But what we didn't touch on, and will be our last and sort of final topic for this series, is learning and development and knowledge management. Is that something that can be outsourced?
Good
And it's a
question.
complicated question,
Yeah.
right? Because my gut tells me no, 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 absolutely not. But curious what you think. And then I think I can like the contamination control strategy topic. I can build a case for both some
Yeah.
aspects, but definitely some not. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. It depends really what your intention is. And it does make sense in certain areas to outsource to experts, these experts that actually know how individuals learn, right? So they've developed programs, that can use virtual reality to show people, but that have a basis in understanding how different individuals learn. Introduce the topic, right? Expand
Great.
on the topic, show how it's done, reinforce it in key takeaways. And it may sound simple and intuitive, but it's generally, not that way. Individuals learn in different ways. And what we've found or what I've seen historically is that learning and knowledge management is something that's just given to HR.
Yeah.
And they may not have that insight.
Great.
They may not have that experience. They may not have the educational background to understand how different people learn. And
Right.
so, in that sense, outsourcing specific areas, that maybe exist in, with certain individuals' expertise, or that they actually have that as their primary business function, does make sense.
Love that. Okay, so we're gonna do good cop, bad cop.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be the bad cop here
Okay.
because I agree with you 100 million percent. There are aspects of your learning and development program that you can outsource, and at some instances, probably should.
Yeah.
Exactly like you meant, adult learning principles, different modalities
Yeah.
for you know gaining interest and garnering and sharing that knowledge, like virtual reality, like lecture videos, like augmented reality, etc. But I think that true learning needs to be an inside job.
Yeah.
Fostering a culture for learning and knowledge management is part of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
And I think that organizations I have witnessed who do this better than some, there's an external component to this as
Yeah.
well. And that's not necessarily outsourcing, but it's that concept that they have connection and they're in touch with external authorities on a
Yeah.
topic. So for endotoxin,
Yeah.
and they're taking that outside training and knowledge and bringing it back in house.
Yeah.
So I really think it needs to be like that culture needs to be an inside job. And knowing what you need needs to be an inside job. The structure of your development and your content management program needs to be inside because you can plug and chug any
Yeah.
outsourced content, but if it's not on the foundation of a strong learning and management program, then it arguably won't be as effective as I think you'd like it to be. So,
I'm 100% aligned with you on that account. And, we build our expertise based on our education, background, and experience. And, let's just take, for example, individuals working in isolators. And do they have that experience? Do they have that background? How do we train them? So, what do aseptic practices and behaviors look like? How do we reinforce that? Do they have an understanding of microbiology and contamination control? And there's just a way of educating people on the basics for where they're at in their career development, particularly in the pharma world, that they just may not have that experience. And you've got to have that insight in house, and you've got to
yeah,
have the right person to be able to see them where they're at and make the training applicable to what they do. I saw some years ago a training on intro to microbiology where they're teaching shop level folks, about Mendel's peas. You know, they really need to know the history of microbiology to be able to do their job well.
Gregory Mendel shall
Barry
be a
Manilow,
household
blast
name.
from the past for you people. Take that back. We're going way back. No, but like honestly, do they really need to have that knowledge for them to be able to do their job?
No.
And so you've got to see them where they're at and what they
Yeah,
need. And it may need to be tailored again to the job function and or the department. You know,
yeah,
we'd expect the folks in the micro lab to have that insight and knowledge, but again, how is it practical? How does that
yeah.
help me do my job better? You know, and that's one
And
of
I
the
think that there's a big picture here.
yeah,
So there's a component that is foundational,
yeah,
that
right,
is scientific, that is theoretical, and that you need to understand the why. This
yeah,
is like literally
yes,
part of my genome, the why.
yes,
So, and that absolutely can be developed either internally or
yeah,
externally, but that's that classic build or purchase or buy conundrum
right,
that organizations have, right? And if you can have access to a platform that has done a lot of that foundational knowledge development, that has considered, knowledge assessments or the way of assessing feedback, that the
sure,
learner is actually retaining the
yeah,
knowledge. If you can
yep,
purchase that content and then integrate it into your business, that frees up internal SMEs, right? I mean, imagine having to divert resources.
right,
Your precious resource, like your head aseptic process simulating coordinator, your head of, interventions, your lead operator in aseptic, or your chief microbiologist. Imagine diverting those resources to building content
yeah,
if you don't have to, right? Um, those resources should focus on what's unique and different and specific to your product, your
yeah,
process, your equipment,
right,
right? And that's sort of the OJT piece. So I think that if there's platforms out there that exist that are interesting and that are, sustainable and scalable,
right,
right? That's the other piece
yep,
that is important when considering outsourcing. I mean, is this a scalable solution?
yeah,
So if you purchase a video or if you build it in-house, if you revise your SOP, or if a regulation changes, I mean, you're constantly having to
yeah,
do that. So, I think there's aspects of learning and development you can, purchase and outsource and rely on external expertise. But
sure,
then at the end of the day, it's all up to you.
right,
And that culture, cultivating that culture for continuous knowledge building and awareness and keeping up with industry regulations and trends in micro testings and things.
yes.
That's all on the organization.
Preach. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
for sure.
and, we started this talking about outsourcing quality and outsourcing to different functions. And to
Yes.
your point, if there is a package that is built using those principles, you may have individuals that are located in vastly different areas. And the
Yeah,
ability to access that same content in their time zone um, becomes important. And so,
absolutely.
it's not just a matter of um, outsourcing something like that, but there may be a practical reason to do so as well.
Absolutely. And in a world where we have, global networks, large
Yeah,
pharma with global networks, as it should.
yeah,
Like if we're manufacturing drugs in the United States that people in other continents
yeah,
need, they should have access to it.
yeah, absolutely.
And that's it. And they should be confident that they're built with the same standard, the same understanding, the same awareness for contamination control, for
Yeah,
principles, for science and for knowledge, and trust that that organization throughout the world
yes,
is implementing the same standard for learning and
yeah.
development. So,
And by the way, it is not a one and done. You don't have
preach
people go through, training and qualification at the start of their job and then consider them go forth and produce.
for 20 years or
Go forth
something.
and test. Yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way, these things evolve, they change. They've got to stay current. To your point, and some of these platforms are already doing that work on your behalf.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
right?
That's true. I know it. I know
Mhm.
it. Well, that's great. So I think that wraps up our last topic for this series. I'm kind of sad. We're
No.
gonna have to do this again, Brian, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. I love chatting with you.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to choose other topics to go down the nerd lane with because this has been great. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.